beautiful down here in Point Loma. Gorgeous. Like we mentioned, my name's Cole Marting. I'm on the board of the San Diego Young Republicans. I come from Bonsall. I'm a Californian, right? I'm a native. And when I was starting to become of age as a Republican, I realized that there's a lot of problems we can solve, not only in this state, but also in this country. And so what I did is I went out to UC Santa Barbara after graduating from La Casa Canyon, just up the 5. And I went out to UC Santa Barbara and decided, hey, let me go and study political science. Is this causing some interference? I can put this down if. Yeah, just talk about it. All right. He does. Yeah, you project well. There we go. Perfect. So I made my way out to UC Santa Barbara, studied political science, and then found myself bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on my way to DC. I wanted to solve a lot of the problems out there in Washington. Lofty goals, right? So I was over at the Republican National Committee. Our job was to elect Republicans up and down the ballot. Now, in 2020, we did a great job at that at the local level, a lot of gubernatorial races. We lost the presidency, right? And so really, I found myself, all right, DC is a lot of times stuck in its ways. I was able to create a little change up there, but why don't I head back home to California and try to solve the toughest challenges here? And no doubt we have some incredible problems that we're facing in the state right now. Absolutely. So that is the title of my book. I wrote a book, California's Toughest Challenges and the Common Sense Conservative Ways to Solve Them. And it's just that. We identify the problems, and then we identify the simplest, lowest hanging fruit solutions to those issues. Now, something I want to talk about is what it means to be a California conservative, right? We hear this term a lot. And in California, it's no secret that we are severely outnumbered. The state assembly, the state senate, the governor's mansion is all held by Democrats. In fact, it's so bad that right now there is a supermajority in the state legislature, a veto-proof majority. Meaning even if our lovely leader Gavin Newsom wakes up on the conservative side of his bed in the morning and decides to veto a crazy liberal law, the legislature can overturn it. They can get past anything we put in their way. So what do we do? How do we solve this problem? We have to start understanding what it means to be a California conservative. Because we're so outnumbered, and hey, many of us in this room right now may be staunch conservatives. Some of us may be more moderates. Some of us may be recovering Democrats, right? We have to realize that we're outnumbered. In this state, we're outnumbered by Democrats. We're also outnumbered by independents. We are the third party in the state. So the only way we can turn that around, number one, register more people to vote, make them vote Republican, but we also have to start winning the hearts and minds of our neighbors, our friends, and our family. We have to change their mindset. That's our job as California conservatives. Now, how did we get here? How are we in this situation where there's smash and grab robberies going on left and right? How are we in a situation where every time it rains, it floods, yet we're somehow still in a drought? How is it that every summer we have wildfires rip through this entire state? It's bad policy. What you have to realize is that from the lowest levels of politics to the highest levels of politics, if you look at politicians through the mindset that they are single-minded seekers of re-election, you start understanding why they do what they do. At the state level, you start understanding why the bills that are getting passed are more and more liberal, because they're playing into their voter base. So that's how we're here. That's how we're in this huge mess that we see every day and that we're fighting back against. One of the topics I want you to focus on, though, is not the issues that I care about. I want you to focus on your issue. When I was growing up, I became a Republican right around 16, 17 years old. I really enjoyed trap shooting with my dad. For those that don't know trap shooting, you throw an orange frisbee clay pigeon out into the sky, you trace it with a shotgun, and you try firing. It's very difficult, but it's very rewarding when you end up hitting that pigeon. Now, I got to the point where I was going pretty much every Thursday afternoon going out, trap shooting with my dad. We were hanging out, enjoying one another. But also I was getting so good that, hey, I shot 25 out of 25 and I was celebrating, right? The next week, though, I was looking at the news and someone wanted to take away my ability to own and utilize a shotgun. It seemed kind of odd. Why is this hobby that I like doing with my dad under attack? Quickly realized that there was two parties in the state. One that wanted to take away my ability to own a long gun under the age of 18, take away the ability to enjoy a hobby with my dad. The other party, the Republican Party, stood for freedom, common sense, and enabling us to live a more perfect life. So I quickly became a conservative Republican the moment I turned 18. But I'm a big 2A advocate, right? And that's okay. Some of you might not care at all about the Second Amendment. Good, good. But I want you to focus on your issue. Whatever your one issue is that you can become extremely educated on, that you know so well that you could argue against your own issue. Know both sides of it. That's how educated I want you to be on these issues. One of the issues I want to talk about today is crime. We've heard a lot about it today already. Prop 47, right? How did this proposition in 2014 get passed and cause such a disaster in the state? Truthfully, I blame all of you. I wasn't able to vote at the time, so it's your problem, not mine. Kidding, it's just as much my problem now as well, because we have to fix it. And so right now you see a petition going around. The ability to sign this petition, get a ballot measure on there for November, and amend part of this proposition. But that's how we got into a situation where every time you go to a Walgreens or CVS to pick up deodorant or a razor or a toothbrush, you have to ring a little bell, wait 10 minutes, and then have someone come over and unlock the cabinet, right? That's how we're in that nasty situation. Second issue I want to talk about is taxes. How is it that Gavin Newsom is the #1 salesman of U-Hauls in the state? It's because everyone's leaving, right? A lot of that has to do with taxes. In fact, we have Oracle, we have Nestle, we have, I think, Tesla now too, that have left the state. Took all those jobs, took them over to Texas, took them to Nevada, states that are more friendly to business, right? How is it that we have some of the most regressive states, regressive taxes in all the union, with 51 cents per gallon in early 2023, that was the number, I think it's gone up since then, being charged per gallon for a gas tax? For what, $300, $400 to register a car, right? Something that you might own, but you still pay taxes on it, so you never really own it. Incredible. So taxes are a huge issue as well. The last one I want to talk about is wildfire and property insurance. Every single summer, it seems like there are more carriers, insurance carriers, leaving the state. In fact, there's 7 of them now, big, large carriers, that have said either we're not going to do business in California anymore, or we're reducing the ability to do business. Ultimately hurts the policyholder. So we got a lot of problems, right? That's the background of all these issues that we're facing, and as Republicans, we're fighting against. But what I want to get to is how to actually win over your friends, your family, and your neighbors. How do we start a grassroots movement where we start turning folks into Republicans? It's through these issues. So let's jump back to crime. We talked about Prop 47. We have the opportunity to actually change this proposition and put people into jail, into prison, who commit crimes. Brilliant idea, right? But it goes beyond that. So we talk about fentanyl, drug dealers on our streets. Right now, Prop 47, as it's written, unless the drug dealer takes the fentanyl or injects it into the person's mouth or arm, you can't be prosecuted for it. I don't know why that makes sense. It's not common sense. So, I challenge you. The next time that you are at Walgreens, or you're at CVS, or you're at Walmart, wherever you shop, and you have to click that red button and wait 15 minutes for that associate to come over, I want you to remember 8 words. It does not have to be this way. 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 Science says if you say it 7 times, you'll remember it better, so I might say it a few more times. But it doesn't have to be this way. Now, that associate will come over and they'll say one of two things. Either number one, they'll kind of chuckle and walk away because they got a million other things going on. Or number two, they'll say, what do you mean? And that is your invitation to go ahead and start talking common sense conservative solutions. When it comes to crime, you talk about, hey, have you signed the petition to fix Prop 47? So we can start, charging folks who commit smash and grab robberies or steal your packages, those porch pirates, steal your packages off your porch, or the folks that are dealing fentanyl on our streets. There's ways to solve this problem. When we jump over to the issue of taxes, the next time that you're filling up your gas tank, I want you to say those 8 words again. It does not have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. So that person that's filling up next to you, again, they'll say one of two things. Either they'll chuckle and drive off, and who's this crazy person? Or number two, they'll say, what do you mean? And that's when you can start explaining, this is a regressive tax. It affects the lowest income the most. The rich don't pay more for gas than the poor. And so you can start having this common sense, conservative conversation with them. It doesn't make sense that we charge so much for gas and I still hit 3 potholes on the way down here, right? Our taxes aren't being used correctly. Now that's a whole separate issue, but then you can dive into business. Why are companies leaving? Why aren't the middle class succeeding in San Diego County, right? You can start having those common sense solutions. The last one, wildfires and property insurance. I had a big problem in my community. We were dropped from our insurance. I live in a condo up in Bonsall. There's 24 units in the property. And when we were dropped from our insurance, the mortgage companies essentially said, hey, you either have to have insurance or you are going to default. Because they need to protect their investment as well, right? Now, in California, it's no secret, there's a State Department of Insurance. The insurance commissioner is a Democrat, right? It's a statewide elected official. That Democrat gets to decide when or how insurance premiums can increase. Now, if you're a business in California, if you're State Farm or Allstate or any of these insurance carriers and you need to perform business, but there's wildfire risk, right? There's issues going on with the state in general, with flooding. We haven't invested in our infrastructure. But these businesses want to end up actually conducting business in the state, but they can't because they can't increase their premiums. It's kind of like rent control in a way, right? It's insurance control. So then these carriers end up leaving, and then you end up like us, who end up on the FAIR plan. Now, don't let the name fool you. It's kind of the stinky plan. It really is not great, right? The FAIR plan is absolutely terrible. It's expensive and terrible coverage. So I had that conversation with my neighbors. One day we were in a garage, and I said, it doesn't have to be this way. They asked, what do you mean? And I explained that whole situation to them. They now understand that there's conservatives in this state, believe it or not, there are conservatives in this state, that are fighting for common sense principles. That's one of the principles that we were able to discuss. And that's one of the issues that we were able to fight for. So next time you're having a conversation with a family member, a friend, or a neighbor, remember those 8 words. Remember that it doesn't have to be this way. We can fight back. And we're growing as a party. In fact, in all of our counties except for one, Republicans increased their voter registration in the state. That is huge. We're making moves, but we still got a long way to go. So I want you guys to remember that California is worth saving. Look around. This place is beautiful. It's the best state in the union, let's be honest. But we all know that friends, family, and neighbors have left the state, right? I bet we could all identify one person. We're the ones that have stuck back and continue to fight. Let's continue that fight. Let's do it through common sense conservative principles. And let's do it with the idea that California is worth saving and show people that there is common sense left in the state. Really appreciate you guys having me here today. If you have any questions, I welcome them. Yeah. Great question. I have some books for sale in the back over there, and I'd be happy to sign your book for you too. It is. So we touch on a number of topics in there. Today I didn't get a chance to touch on education or water resources or homelessness, but that is covered in the book. It identifies pretty much how we got here and then how do we fix it. What are the common sense policies that we can use? Yeah. Yeah.
I think your statement is very non-confrontational and would work better than what the usual response is like, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
Or, you know, something really, you know. So I think that's a good way to be, you know, maybe get a little conversation going without, you know, setting off a firework.
Exactly. Exactly. They don't even know they're in the conversation until they're already in it, right? And they're the ones who approached us. We just said it doesn't have to be this way. They started asking the questions. So on the other hand,
Liberals don't really acknowledge that we have problems. I mean, they'll say, "Oh, you're listening to false," and they totally deny
Mhm.
problems. So how do you confront somebody who says, "No, everything is fine"?
It's a good
And
question.
I've talked about the high taxes, the
Yeah.
gasoline. I've talked about what they're teaching in school, and they all tell me, "I don't know where you're hearing this stuff. It's just all lies you're spreading."
Yeah. You're the Fox News propagandist, right? Exactly. No, I think what we have to focus on right now is we'll let the Democrats do what they do. We'll let the liberals do what they do. Let's focus on those independents. We're still behind independents in registration right now. If we can start winning over just those moderates who don't really know much about politics, don't really know much about the issues, but we can be that neighbor or that friend that educates them on those issues. That's how we can start winning it back. Now, a few years from now, when we have all the independents, then we can start tackling the Democrats and the liberals because we have better solutions, right? There's no doubt that we're hitting potholes. There's no doubt that the middle class is suffering here. There's no doubt that we have a housing shortage, right? There's these huge problems in the state. The liberals are just stuck in their ways. They're misguided.
They really are. It's sad.
They're misguided.
What are the percentages of liberals, Republicans, Democrats in the state?
Yeah, so we're significantly lower than both Republicans and Democrats. I'd have to check the actual registration statistics.
35% or something
We're
like
right around there. Yeah.
that? How many independents are there?
I believe it's somewhere in the I want to say 40s. I'd have to double check the statistics though. But
But your advice is just forget those who are going to listen and talk to those who are willing to talk about it.
exactly. Win over the moderates.
Because the others are the lost cause anyway.
Hmm. And even if you go to the most conservative states, right? You look at Idaho, they still have a really strong Democrat base. There's no winning over those folks, even if they have a 70% voter margin on the Republican side. There's always going to be that subset. That's okay. They're misguided, but we can start winning over those moderates. Yeah.
What do you think of Trump derangement syndrome? Because, it's gotten worse
I know.
in the years that he hasn't been president. And it amazes me what they are doing to him. Terrible.
It's horrible. When I was over at the White House, I was interning there. I was interning over at the White House. I would leave the office every single day, and there would be people with posters yelling at us, screaming at us. And I'm sitting here being like, wow, I just took 8 hours of my day and served the country. And yet you're fighting back against what you believe is wrong. Okay, you have that right. But you're seeing a lot of that Trump derangement syndrome. It's horrible. It's horrible. Now, I don't see as much of that as on the moderate side, which is nice. I still think there's that subset that maybe they don't have an opinion. Maybe they just didn't like his tweets, but loved his policies, loved what he did to the economy, right? There's so much to celebrate with President Trump, and I think we're going to see that here, coming forward as well. Yeah.
Who would you like to see choose for his vice president?
Oh, that's a good one. I heard there was a report this morning that he might have disclosed. I would love to see a woman on the ticket. I really would. Something you'll notice if you start looking at the voter registration statistics is that we've started losing the white suburban middle class, especially the women. So I think if we had a woman on that ticket, that would be a brilliant move, not only to provide the woman's perspective inside the White House, which is absolutely critical, but also people can relate with the ticket then, right? I think it would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But they need tents
Yep.
rather than pay their taxes.
They're stealing them from REI. They're just walking out with.
Oh, are they? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, West Marine. I've seen people just walking out with tents. Just walking. They just walk right out with their tents.
Yeah.
Like they can wear it.
The question was, we're seeing a lot of homelessness right now. Where are the tents coming from? Who's paying for the tents? And why does it seem like tents are just increasing in numbers, right? Well, number one, you and I are paying for those tents. That's tax dollars, right? If it's not tax dollars, like you mentioned, maybe some of it is stolen goods. Maybe some of it's purchased and legitimate. Either way, what we're doing right now with homelessness is not correct. It's not solving the problem. You can't just house people. You also have to force them into treatment. And I use the F word, force, in a creative way. But it's true. You have to put people into treatment if they're going to be housed as well. You can't just have housing first. We've tried that for many years. It does not work. You have to be able to put people into rehabilitation, get them back on their feet, get them housed. That's a good thing, generally. But also get them into a functioning part of our society as well. Yeah, it's true. That's why you have to force.
Well, at this point, you just need a cultural shift. It's such a.
Yeah, it's true.
You need like a cultural shift from an early stage. It's just such a huge problem. It's so multifaceted.
Mhm.
It almost seems impossible. And maybe that's why people aren't even willing to listen because they don't want to deal with it.
Yep.
And that liberal bubble where you can't see the other side. You're so far in your own bubble that you can't even see the outside of it. I don't know. That's what I think.
Well, how can we help the homeless when our city, state, and county aren't even helping people who live here?
Mhm.
And then we have 50,000 or whatever, I don't know how many thousands of people that have just come over the border here in San
Yep.
Diego County. So how in the heck are we ever gonna, we are so far behind and so mismanaged. All the citizens that are paying our taxes right now are gonna be on the bottom of the totem, where all our money is going out to paying drugs for
Yep.
this homeless. So they've gotta stop giving them drugs in the first place so we don't have to rehabilitate them,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely. My sister, she lives up in San Francisco, and she's dealt with this problem a lot. In fact, her car was broken into, someone was sleeping in it, and then was using drugs and burned the car down. By the way, he stayed in the car while it was burning. Mind-blowing. He lived. But he was forced into, I believe, county jail where he's getting rehabilitation. That's how we can start getting ahead of this problem. But my goodness, it is a terrible issue right now. And it's one I think we have to rely even outside of government on. Government can't always be the solution. Maybe it's the church. Maybe it's having a stronger community in general.
From your experience, how effective is calling, email, and writing our representatives? Because we feel that that's really the only thing to do. We do have the organizations like Solutions for Change
Yeah.
that takes them from the streets and provides wraparound services. That's effective.
Yeah.
But what about the calling, phoning, emailing? Is that effective?
It is. In fact, my wife worked at the U.S. House of Representatives.